Well, welcome to Bleav in Panthers here on a early Wednesday morning. Special shout out to the two gentlemen who were outside my house at 7:30 in the morning this morning with two chainsaws going at it, just getting after it, whatever they were doing. And then they just vanished. So shout out to whoever that was somewhere here in my neighborhood. That was my alarm clock. It's the day after cuts. So we'll get into final cuts, the initial 53-man roster for the 2024 Carolina Panthers. We will pick all division winners. We already did the AFC North. We'll do the rest of those as well. And it's open mailbag, so you can join in the fun. It's Bleav in Panthers. Let's go.
Jonathan Stewart gets in, fights for more yardage. Stewart to the mouth of the goal line. Touchdown!
Wow, that's just pure Stewart right there.
That's a big-time run by Jonathan Stewart.
Welcome to Bleav in Carolina Panthers here on Bleav Podcast Networks. Do you believe? Rate and subscribe the show on all major podcast platforms and subscribe to our social media channels on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Video available weekly at youtube.com/@Tobacco Road Sports Radio.
Do you believe?
And it is another edition of the Bleav in Panthers podcast here on Bleav Podcast Networks. You can catch the video every week at Tobacco Road Sports Radio's YouTube channel, youtube.com/Tobacco Road Sports Radio. Desmond Johnson here with Panthers beat writer Schuyler Callihan from Sports Illustrated and the Panthers all-time leading rusher Jonathan Stewart. We just had cuts. We're down to an initial 53-man roster. We'll get our takes on some surprise cuts, actually, that happened with the roster. I think a couple players that we didn't expect them to cut actually got cut. And some players to look out for. Some guys that got cut, as you know, the Panthers with the worst record in the league last year get first dibs in the waiver wire. So this is kind of a new world where it feels like the Panthers have been really looking forward to this week and getting to here so they can flesh out the rest of their roster. We'll go through needs for all that as well. Before we get into all of that, really quick, a word from our sponsors over at Bet Online. I am getting old because this type is really small. Bet Online is the world's most trusted betting platform, your number one source for everything football. Bet Online has every stat, every matchup, even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games. Think you know your stuff? Get in on our $200,000 mega contest and pick 5 games against the spread each week for your chance at weekly prizes and a share of $200,000. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker or on one of our 150 slot games. Head to the website today to get in on the action. Bet Online. The game starts here. And where we will start is it's a little too far out from preseason week 3. I think all of us were kind of fine with no starters planned, but they played the offensive starters. And I just would get your initial thoughts on what you saw, because as I watched that drive, I was like, man, this might be the first time in like 2 seasons that I feel like I'm
easy now.
Like the Panther offense, it doesn't look hard. Like, you know what I mean? Like it felt like a struggle sometimes watching the Panthers just do basic offensive sets and plays. That drive with Bryce leading the way, mixing it up, running and passing, it felt like, okay, the receivers are actually getting separation. The runners have holes to run through. Like, I mean, it's like little basic things, but like it felt good as a Panther fan to like see us doing football, to actually do football. And I just wanted to get your guys' initial thoughts on seeing the starters out there on Saturday and thoughts on what you saw from the offense, because they didn't really hold back either. They was kind of running some stuff.
Yeah, I'll make it quick so Stu can go more in depth on this. But I was okay with just them doing the one drive, especially when they scored. I was like, there's no need to see any more. And I get a lot of fans are like, yeah, it was against the Bills' backups, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. You have to still go out and execute the plays, move the chains, get into the end zone. That's exactly what they did. And after the game, I gave my grade to Bryce Young. Was planning to give out a grade all along. I don't give out A-pluses very often, but I mean, the guy was 6 for 8. The only 2 incompletions were a ball that he threw away, which was a good decision, and the second one was a fade ball towards Deontay Johnson, if memory serves me correct, and it looked like it should have been defensive pass interference or defensive holding, and it didn't get called. So I can't give him anything less than an A+. And you're right, Des, like the offense has looked like a struggle bus for the last several years. So just going out there and executing, regardless of who it's against, regardless of what string it is, it's just good confidence builders for those guys to go out there and actually just see it happen on tape when they go back and watch it. this past week and moving forward. So to me, perfect. It's going to be stiffer competition ahead, of course, but you just had to get the good stuff out there.
Stu, what are your thoughts on what you saw Saturday?
Man, I loved the tempo. I loved everything about, what they put on display, which was basically an offense that can execute. And it all starts up front, right? Have an offensive line that can give Bryce Young some time, an offensive line that can create, little running lanes for the running back to make, the right decisions, the right holes to pick, and just be a running back. Have a little space to run, little gaps. We're not asking for, a freeway. We're just asking for a sidewalk. You know what I'm saying? As a running back, you just want to know, okay, there's a place where I can go and put my head, my nose in and get the tough yards. And I saw all those things. What I really like is the utilization of the tight end in this offense.
Yes.
The play action, all those types of things, controlling the middle of the field is going to be so huge for us. Because if we can deliver, the running game in between the tackles, that puts stress on our defense. Because now if we utilize our tight ends and play action, hitting in the flats, those linebackers are now having to play the field. And when you're playing the field, that's when you get guys tired. It's when, I'm saying, you're playing the field, you have to be on top of coverage. You have to be on top of chasing, the jet sweeps, the motions, and all those types of things that I expect to see during the regular season. And all those things have to be, respected when you have a good offensive line that can protect. And so, bottom line, offensive line did a really good job, the guys that were in there. And, Bryce made really great decisions. The one that he threw away, I was like, yes, I love that. I love good decision making, because at the end of the day, when you can't make a great play, you have to just make business decisions. You have to manage the game. And that's all we can really ask for when there's nothing open. Manage it. Throw the ball away. Keep the chains moving. Keep guys healthy. And don't turn the ball over. So I loved everything I saw. And that's all I needed to see too. I mean, once I saw them on the offense, I was like, shoot, I don't even really need to see the defense.
Let's go home. Yeah.
I was like, look, Ivero, he had it, on lock last year. And obviously some of the guys, some of the starters didn't start on defense. So my concerns on defense aren't high. Obviously we do need, some help there on the depth. But as far as seeing the starters play, I didn't need to see Jadeveon Clowney out there taking any snaps. I don't need to see, how they're going to click as a unit so much as I need to see how the unit was going to click on the offense. And so that first drive, boom, perfect.
I love the mix too, and the tight end stuff that you mentioned, Stu, because I was sitting there looking at what they had preseason was roster-wise. I'm like, why do they have so many tight ends? And I didn't know that they were going to really use the tight ends. We haven't even seen like Tommy Tremble, yet, who I assume is going to be a huge part of that room. But it feels like in Dave Canales' offense that the tight end is a huge portion of it, because you can kind of put him back as fullback too, like in like formations and sets or whatnot. So I love that. I love the leaning on the run game. It didn't seem like word salad. They're going to really concentrate on the run. We'll get into some of the cuts here in just a bit. Antonio McClanahan doing a solid. Like, subscribe, share the stream. If you're on Twitter or X right now, you can go to Bleav in Panthers, at Bleav in Panthers. Share that link out for the live portion of this broadcast. You can comment on it in Twitter or on Facebook Watch or on YouTube and participate in the conversation here while we're on live here on Wednesday. Cuts. Let's go ahead and pull up the cuts real quick, because I'm curious if there were any players that really shocked you guys got cut yesterday. I have one or two in particular where I was just like, wow, they really, okay, they're gonna so that person got cut. Shout out to Edgar Salmingo Jr. on Twitter, who's a huge Panther follower. I went and jacked his Twitter feed for the full 53-man roster because he had it all out typed out or whatnot. Looking at this roster, what's the first name that comes to mind where you're like, wow, I'm surprised that he didn't make it?
For me, it would be Jordan Matthews. Just because he obviously showcased how he can play football for the Carolina Panthers. And he's a vet guy. So just the locker room presence, I think, is something that would have been helpful for this team with the young guys. And he's proven that he can be a factor in this league. Obviously, I'm sure he'll get picked up along the way. I'm not really sure.
He may be back in Carolina.
He might be. Yeah, I was about to say he might be back here. I mean, after today, the waiver wire, they have up until what, 12 o'clock today?
Yeah, explain the waiver wire, Scott. Well, if you know how it works, explain that to the general public, because we are first in the line in terms of being able to pick.
Yeah, so 4 years or younger, or 4 years in the league and under, those guys go to the waiver wire, whereas veterans get released. And so when you're released, you're basically released to do whatever the heck you want to do. And so, a guy like Jordan Matthews falls into the category of being released, which means he can go and sign, doesn't need to wait for anything to happen. Whereas the waiver wire, these guys are on a list, and depending on.
Do we lose Stu?
He's in and out.
I
can keep going for him real quick. But
Or
basically,
list, which is a good thing, right? And so
we lost him again.
I think you froze up again. But what Stu was trying to say is when you go to waivers, you have all 32 teams that have access, obviously, to every player that's in this waiver wire. And it's not necessarily like you go down in order. As soon as these players hit waivers, teams can go in and claim them. You may have a guy that gets a claim from 4 or 5 different teams, but when it goes in through the order, it goes to the first team that put in that claim. So that's who they get awarded to. There's no trade or anything like that. You're just awarded that player. It's kind of like a draft of free agency, if you will. But like Stu was saying, like guys like Jordan Matthews, he got released. But depending on what happens in the next 24 to 48 hours, he could probably end up back on the Panthers 53, or he could end up back on the Panthers practice squad. So there's a lot of different options for these guys. So a lot of the guys that you saw get cut yesterday, I think there was 32 in total for Carolina, 5 guys that went on IR or PUP. Some of those guys you're going to see back here. Jack Plummer, probably another one.
I think for me, I guess the big name for Panther fans getting cut was Terrace Marshall Jr. Out of the wide receiver room. I was actually surprised that they kept 7, and it appears that final 7th slot came down to choosing one of the receivers to cut between Smith, Marset, Moore, and Jalen Coker. Excuse me, who Coker in particular, the undrafted free agent, had been really impressing folks. I thought he had a pretty good preseason game 3 too. I think he really flashed because I ended up watching a lot of it in the second half. He was connecting a lot. And I was just kind of surprised that Marshall Jr. got cut. What wasn't it like the last show we did, or maybe the show before that, where we were commenting on Marshall having his arms around Dave Canales, and we were like, that looks like a man that's pretty sure he's not going to get cut. And then boom.
Yeah, it just shows how much we know, huh?
Yeah. Now I did see that Dave Canales said he was going to try to personally talk to each player that got cut to give them his feedback, which I just think is awesome. I don't know how he has enough time in the day to do that, but he was probably one. Marshall been here for 3 years, 3 different coaches, because he got drafted with Matt Rule, right?
Yeah.
So he went through 3 different head coaches. Joe Brady was awful. Man, that seems like a lifetime ago.
That was definitely a surprise. I mean, he definitely came along, this off season, and Bryce, spoke very highly of him in his press conference, and obviously he was one of Bryce's guys. I'm pretty sure they connected off the field as well, and this is an interesting time. When guys get cut, man, you connect with these guys, and then all of a sudden, moves are made. And sometimes you're sitting at the locker thinking like, dang, that guy got cut.
Right. Yeah.
And then you're looking around, and then you're looking around like, this guy's still here.
This was the most awkward portion of Hard Knocks, like every year, like when they get to the cuts. And now this year, if I'm not mistaken, because we talked about this last week, they do the cuts different because there's only 3 preseason games. It used to be incremental cuts. Yeah, now it's just like boom. After preseason week 3, Tuesday is like, booze day. Like you're going to get cut, or you're going to be able to stay. And if you're like the 4th or 5th cornerback on the team, and it's that Monday, you're going to bed not knowing, if you're employed on Tuesday. So I'm looking at the roster. I'm trying to see where I feel still uncomfortable in terms of.
I'll go real quickly on the Terrace Marshall thing, because I thought it was down to Smith Marset and David Moore for the 6th spot. Of course, we got people cutting grass here now, but I thought they were going to keep 6, and that last spot was going to be between Smith Marset and Moore. I didn't really see Coker making it. I kind of thought this was going to be like, somebody that they subject to waivers and they hope that he gets through. But the more I started to think about it after the 53 came out, I think they really think highly of Jalen Coker. And they just don't want to put him anywhere near waivers, because if you remember going back to that little period after the draft, that first couple of hours, he was one of the most sought after undrafted free agents. A lot of people thought he should have been a 6th or 7th round pick. So if he would have hit waivers, I don't know that he would have got cleared. So that's probably why he stayed.
I remember during that time, I think either I said or maybe we all collectively agreed that he would end up making the roster.
Yeah,
like he would the most likely.
He would be a guy that becomes a project. You know what I'm saying? A guy that they can develop into something that, we talked about Puka, right? Like finding that guy that no one saw, or you know what I'm saying, and finding out how to create talent, or find the talent and develop him with the coaching staff. He was one of those guys that we talked about early on. And here we are. He's made the team because he makes plays. He made a play, that dime that Jack threw. My goodness, that was a dime too, boy.
He flashed for me because that was really the first time I'd really seen him, because I didn't watch the first preseason game. I was traveling, and I did watch the second one, but I was only kind of half really watching it. I was really trying to see the back end of the roster in week 3 because they played a lot, and Coker stood out. Like I was like, okay, I see what the buzz is about this kid, but I'm still shocked that Marshall got sent home. And to be honest, for him, 3 or 4 offensive coordinators in 3 seasons pretty much. But I do feel like he'll get picked up by someone. You know who I could easily see maybe picking them up? Buffalo. Joe Brady's the offensive coordinator up there, and it's Buffalo.
And he goes out there and have a 1,000-yard season.
Yeah, that's how it'll be written.
Another pipeline for some reason. So
who?
Washington, even though Rivera's
not there, but
think about it. Scott Fitterer is in Washington now.
He drafted? No, he didn't draft. Yeah, he did draft him. Didn't he?
Yeah, or even if he did, Marty Herney's there too. So I
can't remember. One of them did.
Years getting too mixed up. They're both in Washington.
Man, so one of them will end up picking him probably. But I could easily see him. Especially they lost Stephon Diggs too. They're gonna probably need something else just to bully that room. I can see him get picked up if he makes it that far.
I can really see TMJ in Washington. You said that out loud. That might actually happen.
Jalen,
Pittsburgh wouldn't be
Jalen Daniels.
Pittsburgh is interesting because I was commenting on how they've got 2 quarterbacks now. They didn't have any last year. I don't know if they do have a quarterback because Russell Wilson hasn't been playing.
I told you.
Yeah, and Justin Fields looks like.
Nah, man, y'all stop hating on him, man. He don't play for the Broncos no more. Russell Wilson gonna shock y'all, man. Just watch.
I hope I'm wrong.
I don't know. Well, we're gonna get to that. Well, who did we picked Baltimore to win the AFC North? So I think I'm sticking with that. They seem like the most complete team in that division. I have no idea. Cleveland. Did you see that Watson was hurt again with can't remember what it was. They held him out for something. Now it's preseason. It could have just been precautionary or whatever, but we'll keep an eye on that because we haven't seen Deshaun Watson be a top 5 quarterback since 2019, pre-COVID. I remember that. Yeah, it was before COVID got here. So it's been a hot minute since we've seen it. And he's the one that started the whole obscene guaranteed money craze at quarterback. Before we get to the division winners, though, any thoughts on the Cowboys finally signing CeeDee Lamb to this contract? I don't know why it took so long, but it was already slotted pretty much for what it was going to be. But $100 million guaranteed. I think he got $33 million signing bonus right at the very beginning. I think it's 130 something plus million. If I'm not mistaken, it's the second largest contract for a non-quarterback in NFL history. Where do you rank CeeDee Lamb, wide receiver wise, in the league today?
I don't think he's top 5.
Yeah, you don't think he's top 5?
Ooh,
I don't think so.
Well, so who's
the best wide receiver in the league? Let's start
Jefferson.
There. Okay, so Justin Jefferson,
and Tyreek Hill,
Devontae
Adams,
Jamar Chase. That's 4 right there.
I think
I could see CD at 5. I wouldn't be mad.
I would personally. This is just me speaking. I'd put Brandon Ayuk above CD.
Really?
And why?
Yeah. Talk me into this.
Because I think if you get Brandon Ayuk away from San Francisco, say he goes to Pittsburgh or wherever, he's going to be the guy. You look at his stats, I mean, he's putting up pretty big numbers, and he's in the same offense as George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey. CeeDee Lamb is Dak's guy. That's where the offense runs through in Dallas. So, to me, I think if you put him somewhere else, he's going to have better numbers than CD.
Actually, it's situational, yeah. I'm still –
I have to strongly disagree. Since we're talking about receivers, let's break this down.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you my top 5.
Okay.
I got Justin Jefferson.
All right.
Tyreek Hill. Devontae Adams. Amon St. Brown. Amon-Ra.
The kid from Detroit.
Okay. And then I got
– you put Nuke Hopkins up there still?
Who?
DeAndre Hopkins, do you still think he's a top receiver?
Not top 5.
He's a top 10.
Yeah.
I think he's a top 10.
CD?
Oh, yeah. No, I'm taking CD over.
Okay. Over DeAndre
CD
now.
Over now. Yeah.
Yeah. Because DeAndre's kind of –
if I'm building a roster and I had to prioritize, that's how I would prioritize. CeeDee Lamb I think CeeDee Lamb comes at number 5 for me.
Cooper Kupp.
Then I would go Cooper Kupp.
AJ Brown.
And then Ayuk. And then AJ Brown. And then Stephon Diggs. Because I still feel like Stephon Diggs, he's about to be revived this year.
What about Puka?
I would take Puka over CD.
I need another season out of Puka.
That's fair.
He obviously is a hell of a talent, but we just need
Mike Evans.
We need to stack some.
See, and that's the thing, because with Mike Evans,
there's too many good ones.
What is he? So he's like year 11, year 12, but hasn't he had like 1,000 yards every year or something nuts?
Yeah. See, I was only prepared to give you my 5. So like, if I needed to get into that 10, I need to
we might have to figure that. We might save that for next week, and kind of break it down, because I'm just sitting there thinking about it. I'm like, CD, I'd have him around 5th or so.
I'm serious though. Like I think that Ayuk CD Lamb thing is a lot closer than people think.
I'm surprised.
Yeah, Ayuk runs the best. Ayuk runs some of the best routes I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that the 49ers still have Brandon Ayuk. I figured he would have been traded by now, but as we get into the season, it looks like he's going to be a 49er unless something happens, probably when we're done with the show, like literally like an hour after we get off. Brandon Ayuk's been traded to Cleveland or someplace. So
Brandon Ayuk, you are a Carolina Panther. Wait, what? How'd that happen?
So we'll see if he goes anywhere, if he stays where he is. You're watching and listening to Bleav in Carolina Panthers podcast, brought to you by Bleav Podcast Networks. Des, Schuyler, Stu in the house. We already went through the 53-man roster. We'll see how that looks, because if they do pick up somebody from waivers, they got to cut somebody. And I was talking to Schuyler right before we got on the air. One of the guys I'm keeping an eye on is former Washington Commanders defensive end KJ Henry, who, if you're from my area up here, he actually played high school football here with one of my schools, West Forsyth and Clemens. And he when he came out of high school, he was the 5th rated prospect of the entire national class. Like he's an athlete, and I'm actually surprised that the Commanders cut him. and he'll just be sitting right there. It'll be a feel-good story. He grew up an hour away from Charlotte. He's young. He played at Clemson. He was a defensive end at Clemson. So, I mean, I think we could use that depth on defense. Now, I do know we need secondary help.
Yeah.
Schuyler, what are they doing, or what do you think they're going to do in terms of
who would have to be released?
Yeah.
In order for us to like bring people in, especially at we need pass rushers, right? Just like obviously the depth there is what we need.
That's what I'm saying. KJ, he wouldn't be a starter, but he'd be a great rotational piece. And he's young. He's like 22, I think. So you could really mold him in EJ's defensive style and kind of go from there. But I don't know. I don't know if they're looking at edge or who's the other starting cornerback
edge of
the team. Who's the other starting
number
cornerback?
one issue right now that they're going to address. I know corner's been a thing that we've talked about ad nauseum, but you have to get another outside linebacker. I mean, DJ Johnson has shown some stuff, I guess, but he's more of an edge setter in Avero's eyes, and I still think he has room to grow just in that role alone and setting the edge. So I'm not too thrilled and jumping for enthusiasm with that room.
Yeah.
But corner for sure. Michael Jackson, who they traded for, is probably, to answer your question, probably the interim starter right now until Dane Jackson gets back. But
so it is going to be Dane. You think that once Dane is back, once
Dane's back, yeah, unless they make a move somehow and bring somebody else in. But the issue at corner is you have how many corners do they have on the roster? I can't remember off the top of my head. Is it like 5? I think it's 5.
I'll go pull back up that.
They have, from off the top of my head, they have 5.
You said
2 of those guys, cornerback.
Yeah, they've got 5. J.C. Horn, Michael Jackson, Troy Hill, Deshaun Jameson, and Chau Smith-Wade, who actually Chau Smith-Wade I like too.
Two of those guys, Troy Hill and Chau Smith-Wade, are primarily nickels. So you only have 3 guys that are going to play on the outside. So if JC gets hurt, which I hate to even bring it up, but I mean, this is just a reality at this point. You're down to Michael Jackson and Deshaun Jameson. Or if any of those 3 gets hurt, you're down to 2 guys that have played a lot of outside corner. You're going to have to get somebody else that can do, I think, a little bit of both, because Chau Smith-Wade's a rookie. You're going to want some positional flexibility. So I think if they do claim somebody off waivers, it's going to be somebody that's primarily an outside guy but can offer some snaps at slot.
Nickel is a different, especially the way defenses are ran right now, right? Yeah. Like you have to be able to cover space and be able to be in the box to tackle, because that's the nature of where the defenses are now. Guys you got 5 speedsters on the field at all times, basically.
Yeah.
And of course, we know it's a passing league, so you definitely need to have a gamut of bodies at that position. We'll see. And again, it's felt like the Panthers front office, Dan Morgan in particular, because they've been talking about this for weeks, that they've been looking forward to this portion of the preseason where they can actually kind of almost rebuild the back end of the roster, because they're going to have first dibs on, whatever they want, basically. And it's interesting because you don't really hear teams talk about that portion out loud, that they're looking at the waiver line. They know there's going to be some talent out there, and yada, yada, yada. And it's been another free agency. That position. It's like another free agency. Yeah. So we'll see, because we'll probably start getting these quickly. I would imagine probably as soon as we're done with the show, we'll start hearing them picking up somebody, cutting somebody, that kind of thing. So we'll keep an eye on that as the 53-man roster begins to take shape in Charlotte for the Carolina Panthers. We need to get to these division winners. And I wanted to make sure we had enough time to get to all of them. We already did the AFC North a couple of weeks ago. It was the Baltimore Ravens, I believe, we picked. We did our annual record prediction for the Panthers last week. Did we finish above 500?
Oh gosh,
yeah, 9-8. I think that's what we did. And
I thought it was 10-6 or.
No, I don't think it was that crazy, were we? I think I wrote it down somewhere. I think it was 9-8, and I was happy with that. I was like, right around 500. That would be a great year. Be in contention, just to be in the conversation. Like, that would be great. But we'll see. But I started thinking about 9-8 might win this division. Like, it could very well mess around and win the bit, unless all the chips that Atlanta just pushed into the table are legit, and Kirk Cousins comes out and I don't think that's going to work. But say it comes out and they play really, really well.
I feel like unless Atlanta changed their water and that they be drinking, they got flop in that water that they're drinking. So
I mean, you got a non-mobile quarterback coming off an Achilles injury that you just gave $100 million to guaranteed, and that's kind of what you're hitching it to, because really what the past 2 years
starting NFC South.
No, let's do South last. Yeah, let's do that last. So we did AFC North. Let's do AFC South. You got a quiet Jacksonville, but Jacksonville's been progressing since they got rid of Urban Meyer. They've just kind of been doing what they should have been doing with Urban Meyer. Another year for Trevor Lawrence. I don't know if Anthony Richardson is going to work out. And I hate to say that because he got hurt last year early. We haven't seen a whole lot of him. But remember the conversation of him coming in from his draft, that he was still very raw in terms of the passing game. It still feels like when you watch him play that he's throwing college style, like he's throwing two players, expecting them to be open as opposed to throwing to spots, like what I'm seeing Bryce do now. Like Bryce is anticipating.
Open.
Yeah, he's throwing guys open. And it's smaller windows in the NFL. And Richardson, he was always kind of like a 55% completion kind of guy, I guess, in college. You draft him for his athleticism, and now coming off the injury, was a shoulder, I think. We still need to see how he's going to be. I just don't think that Indy's going to be ready to compete. I think Jacksonville in that division is going to probably be the one. Who Tennessee's kind of going backwards.
It's Houston for me. I mean,
Houston.
I got Houston all day. We can just move forward with that.
Yeah. So now they're going to have a first place schedule. So keep that in mind. Although I've gone on rants about that whole notion before, but they'll have a tougher schedule this year.
They got a first place roster too.
Yeah, they've built some stuff. I saw they cut one of those wide receivers that he was throwing to last. Nico Brown. He got
Collins.
Collins. Nico Collins.
No, Nico or Collins should still be there. It might be.
Is there one last name Brown? I don't know. I'll go look it up. I was scrolling too fast on Twitter. I need to write these down. So we're going to go. I'm with that too. Houston Texans, which is crazy.
Noah Brown.
Where the Texans were 4 years ago.
They cut Noah Brown.
Okay, see, and they still have a room full of wide receivers for C.J. Stroud. But think about where the Texans were 4 years ago. They just had to trade Deshaun Watson. That whole mess. The whole of I was an African American, I wouldn't play for the Texans. All that stuff. That's all gone. Like all of it's gone. And all it took was a winning season and a rookie quarterback, and just kind of took the city by storm. And look at them now.
Now they got C.J. Stroud at quarterback, Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell, and they had added Joe Mixon at running back.
And they got all that off of the collateral that they got off the Deshaun Watson trade, pretty much.
Do they still have Dalton Schultz too, tight end?
I think so. Yeah. So, and a defense that's led by a dude that knows what he's doing. D'Amico Ryans, the head coach. So I mean, they got a situation out there where they can make some noise. Unfortunately, they're in the AFC, and there's like maybe 8 teams I probably maybe picked before I got to Houston to make it to the Super Bowl. But we're gonna pick Houston over in the AFC South.
But look, Houston was really, they were there. They were right there.
They had an opportunity.
But they just had to face that dog.
Let's go on and talk about him then real quick. AFC West. And we're just giving this to Kansas City? Because yeah. This is gonna be really fast. Because I mean, AFC West, I mean, the Raiders don't have a quarterback, really, right?
No. Broncos are really
Bo Nix?
Bo Nix will be good, but
Bo's gonna have a good season, but they ain't gonna be able to beat nobody, really.
Right.
Yeah, and then the Chargers, I can't expect them to ground and pound with Harbaugh because we don't know the situation with Herbert yet, do we? In terms of injury and
I think this is kind of like a gap year for them.
Yeah,
really. I mean, it's Chiefs all day. Like I wouldn't be surprised if they sweep the whole division.
I was about to say, it feels like they're stronger. How in the world did we all collectively let the Chiefs draft Xavier Worthy? How did that even happen?
Juju back too the other day.
Yeah, Juju Smith.
Yeah. What?
Yeah, so let's just go ahead and move on from that one.
What in the world? How did the Chiefs get the kid that ran the 4.240? Like, I don't understand. Like, why did we let this happen? Like,
hey, you just go deep. Travis, I'll throw it to you.
It's Tyreek Hill all over again. It's Tyreek Hill. You can either just let Worthy run 50 yards downfield and throw it underneath them.
Oh, and don't forget they have Hollywood Brown too.
They picked him up too.
Yeah, that's right.
Chiefs or the field? That's going to be the question. Like, you picking the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl or the field? Because
boy,
they might pull this off.
Playing, boy, he out here just saying, "Look, I'm riding this wave, boy."
They might pull this off. If they get a three-peat, another thing, because we were talking about if it changes Pat Mahomes' legacy, if they three-peat.
Absolutely.
What about Andy Reid? What about his
Andy
legacy?
Reid might be like,
I
mean, it would be different. It would definitely be different. Nah, it wouldn't be different.
Well, he'd have 4 too. He'd have a three-peat that no one's done. He'd have 4 rings all in the past 5 years.
Dominant.
Yeah, and some of that, well, most of it they did it from home in the playoffs, but this past year they went on the road and did it. So I mean,
and they did it with defense this year too, which is like another way of winning. Like, hey, look, Patrick, this is a tad bit of an off year for you.
You're only going for 4,000 yards.
We're gonna let the defense, be the face of the organization for just a little bit.
Yeah, let them shine a little bit. Come on, Pat.
Well, we didn't even mention Pacheco either. I mean,
oh God, yeah. They still have the other running back they drafted from LSU.
Edwards-Helaire. I don't. If he is, he's not doing much. Like,
yeah, because he wasn't that bad.
Pacheco show.
Man, go Chiefs. So the
Pacheco.
Chiefs, we get to see everybody we just named. We get to see them. The Panthers play the Chiefs after our bye week. So yippee. We'll see what that's going to amount to. Chiefs are going to win the AFC West. AFC East. That might be.
This is tough.
One of the tougher divisions in all of football now, right? We don't know what
the Bengals have the best. The Bengals have the best chance of making it a storyline for the Ravens.
It feels like every team in the AFC East has a flaw. Like there's something with all of them. Like with Miami, they can't play in cold weather. With New England, they're very young.
Buffalo's window's closed.
They can't beat Pat Mahomes. that's their. They just can't get past Kansas City. And then the Jets, your quarterback's 40. I'm sorry, I know it's Aaron Rodgers,
but that defense is looking good though.
The defense is top 5. The defense is top 5. You got skill position players, but I can't get off of Aaron Rodgers going into his whatever 15th, 17th year and coming off of a torn Achilles or whatever. And did they fix the offensive line with the Jets?
I mean, it's better. But
who do you think?
The Jets will jet.
Yeah,
they will continue to be the Jets. Every time they bring in somebody like this, or they feel like it's about to turn, it doesn't happen. So
all I will say is Breece Hall is going to be a problem. And I look at the teams that I look at when Aaron Rodgers was like really effective, is when Aaron Jones, he had a running back to dump it off to, the screen game, all that. Breece Hall is that. Breece Hall is all that in a bag of chips. And yes, they got a big boy back there now.
So would you pick the Jets over the Bills to win the AFC North?
I'm doing that.
You're going Jets? I'm
going Jets.
I'm going to give Buffalo one more year in this window I keep talking about. But it's a stretch. I am, because it's a stretch, because this is really year 5 of their window. And I've always said this about a 4-year window from when you first kind of knock on the door. And they've lost some pieces now too. But
AFC,
it's the Jets. It's the Jets.
Man, look,
it don't feel right.
It does feel right. Everything about it feels right. The Jets are gonna do it. AFC East, they got that in the bag.
It does depend on the health of Aaron Rodgers, though, because if something happens to A-Rod, it falls apart like completely, like it did last year from week 1. So I mean,
who's their backup?
All of it on him. So
now
I'm gonna go Buffalo.
I know the division is a whole heck of a lot tougher than what CJ had a year ago. Doesn't it kind of seem a little like too quiet about New England? And I know, like, I understand that they are in a major rebuild, but we all thought that with Houston last year and CJ.
Drake May is not bad.
Drake May going to be like this year's team or this year's rookie quarterback that's going to come out of nowhere and surprise. And maybe Gerard Mayo is kind of like this year's version of D'Amico Ryans. I'm just saying.
I mean, if they can play games Belichick style and be close in all the games, and
so we pretty much just like looking at the Dolphins like, Y'all
No,
good, but y'all
They
not
can't play in
great.
cold weather.
That's
They
my
never,
pick.
they never win.
I'm going with Miami, but
Mm.
We all pick different teams then in the AFC.
I think they'll find a way just because their speed is just ridiculous, and I think Buffalo takes a big step back this year. The Jets are going to be. I think Buffalo and New York are going to be like around 500. Miami's going to be like 12-5.
So that means one division is going to have like 3 playoff teams, but you don't think it'll be out of the AFC East?
Probably the North.
I think every time those teams play the Jets, that score is going to be like a 13-10 type game,
like a rock fight.
Mm-hmm.
Miami again, they can't win in cold weather. So even if they get to the playoffs, they're going to have to probably go.
They'll have 8 or 9 at home though. So.
Yeah, that's true too. But they're a track team. They are a track team.
Yeah.
And when they get going, we saw it. We were a victim to it last year. That once that snowball starts rolling downhill, the last 2 years, they're too fast. They're too quick.
Too fast. Too furious.
But their defense, they're just getting shootouts. So Schuyler's picking Miami, Stu's picking the Jets. I'm picking Buffalo. Probably means that.
Are we writing these things down?
We need to. We need to hold ourselves accountable.
Will be the CJ Stroud.
I'm gonna say that means the Patriots will probably win the division since we all 3 picked random ones. I'm looking for a pin.
There's always somebody that surprises every year. So I mean, if there's one like true dark horse, it wouldn't be all that surprising that New England.
I hope it's us. Can it be us for once?
Can we be the surprise? Chill out, man.
We'll get there.
We'll get there. We're gonna wait.
We might be the surprise this year.
Why not us?
Foreshadowing.
So we did AFC East, North, South, West. So NFC. NFC. Let's do NFC West.
Niners. Not even close. I think they run
away
away with this year.
You don't think the Rams are gonna jerk off? I'm not jerk off. Stafford. Matt Stafford. Puka. And no Aaron Donald.
Aaron Donald's a tough dude to replace.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah,
and they just traded Ernest Jones yesterday. So I don't know how I feel about them as a whole. We'll see what Cooper Kupp and Puka look like. I mean, they've got the offense to do it. I think it's just San Fran's just so loaded.
What if the Cardinals?
I don't like
Kyler Murray and the young boy.
Mahler Jr.
I've never liked Kyler Murray. I'm just going to confess it.
What if Marvin Harrison Jr. is Kyler Murray's saving grace?
I think Kyler Murray plays too many video games. What? Yeah, man. It's like a narrative that he spends too much time playing video games than actually
that man's
watching
personal
film.
life alone, man. At least he's playing video games
and then he got the bag. He got a bunch of guaranteed money, and I'm like, it feels like the Cardinals are kind of in the same spot.
So would you rather him playing video games or doing other things?
I'd rather him be studying film and lifting weights. And
I can tell you, there's a lot of other players doing other things. I can tell you that.
That's true. That is very true. It's very, very true. I just with San Francisco in that division, I don't think I could safely pick the Arizona Cardinals to win the NFC West.
I can't get on board with Jonathan Gannon as a head coach. I can't. I don't know why.
Who else are they?
San
Francisco.
We all know the roster. We all know the 49ers are going to win. I'm just telling you.
Yeah.
Wait, I'm trying to catch us back up.
Stu does have a point. Like the Cardinals roster, I think, is being overlooked.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, I'm trying to catch us back up here. We said AFC West, Chiefs, AFC South, Jackson. No, Houston.
No, Texans.
Yeah. AFC North, we all picked 3 different teams. How we want to do that?
I don't remember who I picked. I think I went Baltimore, but
Baltimore. Yeah, we did Baltimore.
I'm Baltimore.
And then AFC East is when we picked 3 different teams. How do we?
Yeah, the Jets. I got the Jets.
I picked Buffalo. I don't like my Buffalo pick, so I'm gonna go to one of
you. Know what? We need to have Bleav do a little bit of social programming with artwork, so that way we can post it. So that way we can actually go back and look at what we actually picked.
You know what? I'll talk to Lindsay about that and see if they can put something together for us, and then we can clip this of us calling Bleav out. To put it out there for us. But if we do that though, we got to come to a consensus on AFC East.
The
I'm gonna
East?
drop my Buffalo and pick one of the ones you guys pick because you picked the
Nah,
Jets.
man.
You picked
Pick
Miami,
who you
right?
pick. I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, we can all have all three of
It
our
will just
picks.
be
Okay,
different.
all right. So it'll
It'll
be
say
okay. I see what you're
Stu,
saying. So I have like three different things.
Johnson, Callihan, and it'll say who we picked.
So we okay. So
That way we look back and we say, look at the receipts, baby.
Stu picked the Jets. Schuyler picked Miami.
Because I'm telling you, the Jets.
I picked the Bills.
That defense, all they needed was a quarterback last year. That's all they needed.
Yeah, that's true.
All they needed.
NFC West, we all picked the 49ers. That takes us to the NFC, the NFC East. Dallas has won it the past 2 years, I believe, 12-5.
Not this year, baby.
Philly was 10-1. I remember this. Philly was 10-1 and rolling, and then the bottom just fell out last year.
Yeah.
I don't know if they fixed it because to me I thought I had heard it was an issue with Jalen Hurts and the head coach not really getting things together on the same page. I assume since the head coach is still there.
Man, look, I'm gonna tell you. Nah, this is what's happened this is what's happened this offseason. They've gotten a guy named Saquon Barkley.
Oh, nuts. I forgot that they got Barkley.
Saquon Barkley is now the face of the organization, in my opinion.
On the Eagles offensive line, too.
Yeah. So the Cowboys this offseason, the reason why they weren't ready to sign CD Lamb is because they was basically trying to think to themselves, man, do we just go ahead and tank this year? Because we ain't got no chance. We ain't got no chance against the Philadelphia Eagles. So that's the reason why they was holding out, because they was thinking to themselves, man, maybe we can use that money to rebuild.
Do you think the Cowboys bottom out this year? Since they didn't really do a whole lot in the offseason with
Is
the
the
roster?
sky blue?
Wow.
Is the grass green?
Jeez. They won double-digit wins the past 2 regular seasons. Dak has been in the MVP conversation.
Well, Dak is good.
Dak trying to play for some money this year, too.
The problem is that I don't think they fixed their problems last year.
Yeah.
They didn't do anything.
They didn't do anything at all. They re-signed Zeke at running back. So a year after they deemed him too old to play for us, they brought him right back. And then they signed their punter, I believe, or their kicker. That was kind of it. They've drafted well. I will say that. They've drafted extremely well the past couple of years. And it seems like they've kind of done it that way instead of bringing in the big-name free agents and stuff from the past. But to Stu's point, Philly's just loaded, man. I think I would go Philly. So Philly won an NFC East. Before we leave that division, though, what are your thoughts on Washington? Do you think they could be a surprise, one of the surprise teams we're talking about?
No, they won't beat Philly.
Jaden Daniels would be great.
Yeah, especially if he gets Terrace Marshall Jr.
I categorize the Commanders the same as the Broncos. Like the quarterback play is going to be like pretty good, but as far as like how they're built, they're not built to last. These teams are not built to last.
Yeah, a couple more drafts, a couple more off seasons. So NFC East, we got Philly. NFC North. I was thinking about this. Can the Bears win the division? Like, do they have a legit shot? Because again, we keep thinking of the Bears as the worst team in football because they drafted number 1 overall. That was us. We gave them our pick. So they actually won a handful of games at the end of the year last year. Caleb Williams, again, I have to apologize to this man because I was underrating him. He looks legit. Like, he looks like the legit deal. He's got pieces around him too. Like, now, granted, I've always said Chicago is where quarterback careers go to die. Like, you can't really name a legend at quarterback that played for the Bears. Can you? No. No. Jay Cutler. Like who's
the next one? Will be their first one.
Caleb Williams. Like, I think he has the opportunity to become the greatest quarterback in Bears history after a season. Like, literally, like, there's Jim McMahon, I guess, Doug Flutie. Like, who's the quarterback that's the face of the Chicago Bears? They don't really have one. But then you got Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers, who put the world on notice last year with whatever that was against Dallas in the playoffs. Can they ride that momentum? Because when I look at Green Bay and their roster, I'm like, okay, they've kind of done all this through the draft. Like, this team is relatively around the same age, like offense and defense. They're growing together. So they're learning how to win together. And it feels like in that division, Chicago might need another season to kind of really do it. Well, they really had a good draft last year too, because of us. And Minnesota. Who's the was JJ McCarthy from Minnesota, but they lost him for the season.
Slinging Sammy Darnold.
Sam Darnold is the quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings, but he has Justin Jefferson to throw to. So what if Sam Darnold throws for 4,500 yards and 35 touchdowns and the Vikings win this division? And
they struggled on defense the last year, right? Did they fix their defensive woes?
I don't know if it's enough to win the division. I think I picked Green Bay basically here. Regardless, it seems like that's the pick for the NFC North. I'm trying to keep an eye on because when we're done with this, we got to put the playoff thing together, and I'm trying to figure out what wild card team.
What am I thinking? I like Green Bay a lot, but I'm going Detroit.
Oh, snap! Yeah.
Just waiting for y'all to just get to
sorry
it.
about that. Yeah,
Detroit could very much so win the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah, they got some pretty good odds too. I forgot about Detroit. All right, we'll go Detroit, but then. Honestly, one of the wild cards is going to come out of this division, in my opinion, whether it's the Bears or Green Bay. I feel comfortable saying Green Bay is going to make the playoffs, so they'll probably be the wild card. And then the good old NFC South, the toughest division in all of football. What thoughts on this division? I don't think any one of us wants to be the first to be like, yeah, the Panthers. Panthers are going to win this division. I'm looking around the division, and I'm like, unless Atlanta does it, I don't trust New Orleans to do it. I don't really trust Tampa to do it. Honestly, it's a race to 9 wins, in my opinion. And it's going to be the team that knows itself the best that gets there first. Tampa's dealing with a new OC. Atlanta's going to have a new starting quarterback. We still don't know what Kirk Cousins is actually going to look like coming off of this.
Kirk Cousins is going to be Kirk Cousins. He's going to play good football.
You think they can win the division?
It, to me, comes down to the defense. Like they stacked their chips. They got some players. Will health be a factor? Will expectations be met? Because again, just because you got new players on your team, they still have to have the chemistry, right?
Yeah.
And so those are the types of things that you look at when it comes to building a roster and how that comes together on, the first few games of the year. And so to me,
I just don't want to pick Atlanta. I just don't want to pick Atlanta.
To me, yeah, you don't want to pick Atlanta, but to me, if you had to say what the roster looks like, they have the best roster. And I will say that's just because they've been in position to build that over the last, 3 years or so. The offensive line is dominant. And the Saints, they're just kind of getting stale a little bit.
Older. Yeah. They're
I think they can very much so win the hard games though, because of the experience with their veteran leadership. So, their linebacker core, their defense has been good and will be good.
They still, Dennis Allen's still the head coach, right?
Yeah. Yep. I think they're the things that's going to stop the Saints is going to be their offensive line. Their offensive line, I feel like they got in a tackle 2 years ago or last year that didn't pan out. And then they ended up drafting another tackle to replace the tackle that they drafted. So they're trying to work out how to find the protection, just like the Carolina Panthers. I feel like we have a better offensive line than the Saints.
I would agree with that. And it's crazy too, because the Saints, that's usually what they're known for, is their offensive line, right? And to say that they don't this year, that's kind of a stark difference from the Drew Brees days for sure. Dennis Allen, I want to say, has a losing record as a head coach. I want to say Derek Carr does too as a quarterback. It ain't good if it ain't. It's got to be 500.
Derek Carr had a pretty good season last year, in the retrospect of things, right? He got hurt, and then that really kind of takes their tumble down here.
Where's James Winston?
Cleveland.
In Cleveland?
Cleveland.
Yeah. Jameis. I love Jameis.
That seems like a movie, don't it? Like waiting to happen. Something happens to Watson. Winston comes in. They rattle off 11 wins. Jameis Winston takes Cleveland to the Super Bowl. They win it.
Hey, if that happens, boy.
Yeah, they're taking pictures with the crab leg fingers and stuff. And like, I forgot that's where he went. That seems like, man, that's exactly what's going to happen. And he's got that personality too. Like, regardless, we joke about him a lot, but he's a fun guy to like listen to and watch or whatever, even still to this day.
Positive, man. Positive.
Surprised that New Orleans let him go. But yeah, so in Cleveland. So I don't want to pick Atlanta. I just don't want to do it.
We're not picking Atlanta. What's wrong with you?
Okay, so I just want to put that out there. I just don't want to do it. Like, don't make me do it. It's wrong. It feels wrong.
This is who we're picking. You guys don't even have to say anything after this. Just let me take it.
Oh God!
We're picking the Carolina freaking Panthers.
Oh no!
Yeah. Okay. We're picking the Carolina Panthers. Argue with your mama.
You know what?
This is called the Bleav in Panthers podcast. So if you ain't gonna believe, you get your behind off this dang podcast.
I mean, you got a point. That's
Do you believe?
You might as well make that a social clip.
I'm gonna, Schuyler, you want to retort before I write it down? Because I'm kind of like,
Schuyler.
why not us? Why not? Why not? Let's make this fun. Like, why not us?
Schuyler, you see that wall behind you?
We already said 9 wins. Like,
funny thing is, my office is right behind your wall.
We just for reference, if you go watch the episode last week, at one point when we're doing the records for the Panthers for the predictions, we had them at 6-2 halfway through the season, like near their bye week. After the bye weeks when it fell apart, because then they saw Pat Mahomes, and then it was like Dallas right after that, and then something else, and they lost like 4 straight based off what we said. But
if we stay healthy, we win.
If we stay healthy,
it's hard to stay healthy in this league.
Win our home games.
Yeah, win our home games, win the division games. Like, we have a chance.
He's kind of deep in thought. He's like, how do I want to approach this?
Last week when we did our predictions, I had the Panthers at 5-12.
Yeah.
That was before we saw Bryce Young. I know it's second string, whatever. But just seeing it again, just seeing them have the confidence to do that drive that they had, I feel a little bit better. So I'm going to say 6-11.
That's not enough to win the
next
division.
So, well, is it? I don't know. I mean,
I hope not. I hope that's
the
not.
Division
enough.
could be that bad.
Oh,
I'm not going Carolina. I will go Tampa Bay.
I would go Tampa over Atlanta, but I'm definitely not going.
I can't pick Atlanta to win this division. I just can't do it. I can't.
I'm going Carolina Panthers. So just put down Carolina from me. Put down Tampa Bay from Callihan, and you go ahead and pick.
I think I'm picking Carolina. Like
there it is.
You know the problem.
Boom.
It's like the people.
Again.
It's the people. It's the people in my. It's the people in my head. That, like,
baby.
My friends, they're going to be like my Steelers fan friend, and the people like they're going to be like, "Oh, of course you're going to pick Carolina to win the division. Look at you big homer." Blah 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 blah. I'm like, who else do I feel comfortable winning this division? Like, every team in this division has flaws. Like, everyone calls us the worst division in football. Why not Carolina?
It's irresponsible to give Atlanta.
Don't give them so much hope.
Yeah,
like, what
irresponsible.
It's irresponsible. I'm gonna write that one out separate. So, Stu, Panthers. See, this is gonna make the playoff thing hard. Schuyler, who'd you pick? Tampa.
Yeah,
I'm going to pick Panthers.
Tampa Baker.
So we gotta see. He doesn't have the quarterback whisperer anymore. He's here in Charlotte. I think that's going to be a huge thing that no one's going to really talk about. That Baker might have went like that, and now there's no Canales, so maybe he comes back down the other way. We'll see.
Schuyler, I will ask you this question.
Uh-huh.
Give me the reason. Give me 3 reasons why the Panthers won't win the division.
I mean, I think you guys know.
Give me the 3. Let's need 3.
Depth,
number 1. Okay.
So he was right about
guys.
That.
Yeah.
Number 2.
He was on point.
Mm-hmm.
First year head coach, first year offensive coordinator, first year offensive staff in a new system, a lot of new pieces.
Okay, defense is exactly the same though, right?
Pretty much. And the guys they brought in had already played in that system.
You got Caldwell. You got Caldwell still there.
Yeah.
Got some glue. You got some glue.
What does Jim Caldwell do? Like, what is his role?
His role is Elmer's glue. which is I'm keeping this thing together and tight, making sure everybody's staying in line.
I just see him popping his head in a random room. It's like, hey, get anything in here? What's going on?
This is what he's in there doing this. Hey, that ain't gonna work out. Hey, don't coach him like that.
All this stuff on this part of the whiteboard, just go ahead and erase this. None of this is gonna work. And he just walks off, like doesn't say goodbye to nobody. I didn't want to get you off the hook, Schuyler. What's your third reason?
Third reason would be there's just too many question marks with this team heading into the year.
What's the question marks? I need the question marks.
Still don't know about Bryce.
Oh, I know about Bryce.
Do we?
I don't know. One series wasn't enough.
No, listen, Alabama Bryce is all I need to know.
He did look better.
I'm not saying that he won't turn out to be good and have a great year because it's very possible. But heading into the year, we don't know about Bryce. The offensive line is on paper better, but I think it's going to take some time for them to mesh. And I think you're going to put a lot on the defense early on. And even though you return pieces from that defense, you lose Brian Burns, you lose Frankie Louvu, you lose Jeremy Chin, who he didn't play a whole lot last year, but you have no cornerback depth whatsoever. Depth is the number one.
Depth is the first one that you said, so I still need 3.
But he was right about that last year. It affected everything else.
Inexperience was number 2.
Okay, inexperience is number 2.
And the third thing is just too many question marks.
Too many holes. We don't know about Bryce yet. I think that's fair. We need more, like you said about
that's not enough.
CJ Stroud.
That's not enough. That's not enough to convince me. Now, I can give you a lot of reasons why Cleveland won't. Right? I can give you a lot of reasons why the Commanders won't. I can give you a lot of reasons why the Giants won't. I can give you, you know what I'm saying? That's where this to me doesn't fit that profile.
So you're saying why not us, right? Like why
not
us?
Here, when's the last time a team went 2-15 and won the division the next year?
Houston? What was Houston's record last year? Or year before?
No, 2-15 was the first time that anyone's gone 2-15. Period.
Well, that's
never
true.
happened.
That's true. So the last 2-win team.
Nah, what was the last team to go from like worst to first? That's probably a better way to put it.
I mean, it happens. Worst to first happens more often, but we're talking about go from the worst team in the league record wise. Let's say that worst team in the league record wise for winning the division the next year.
Actually, you know what? I've been playing with Gemini, the AI thing for Google. Let's put it to the test right now. I don't even know how to ask that. What's the question?
Last team to have the worst record in the NFL to then win the division the next year.
Okay,
so to winning
2018 Houston.
It says the Washington football team, now known as the Washington Commanders, were the last NFL team to have the worst record in the league one year and win the division the next year. This isn't right.
Yeah, there's no way. They didn't have the number 1 overall pick.
They finished with a 7-9 record. That wasn't the worst.
Yeah.
Gemini sucks. Gemini doesn't do what it's supposed to do. Man, forget AI. Like, this is horrible.
All I'm saying is if we have to really think about it, then it doesn't happen very often.
Yeah.
So
they didn't have
what I'm trying to say is, like, I'm not trying to bash on the Panthers and their chances because the NFC South is just not very strong. And I really believe that Bryce is going to turn into be a good quarterback. They're going to have a bright future. Just not this year. You don't go from 2-15 to 10-7 or 11-6 overnight. Like, I know I'm not trying to sound like Matt Rule, but like it's going to take two years or so.
All right, dream team, right? 2011 Eagles, Andy Reid.
Did they have the number 1 pick the year before?
No, we did.
They were.
Well, we had it for 2011. It was Cam. Because in 2010, we were
2012. Andy Reid was hired by the Kansas City Chiefs after they went 2-14. Right.
So I can't remember.
And then that following year, right? 11-5.
Who'd they pick number 1 that year?
It's a good question.
Who? The Chiefs?
No, the Eagles. I didn't know the Eagles ever had the number 1 pick.
I think they had wasn't it a lineman? It was like an offensive lineman or somebody. So I want to say it was a kind of a weak draft, wasn't it? That sounds right. I don't know. The only thing I found, it says the most famous example would be back in the 70s, the Tampa Bay Bucks. They lost their first 28 games when they started playing. Their first 28 games as a franchise. They lost the first 28 games. They finished last in their division for 76, 77, and 78. Then in 79, they won the division, went to the NFC Championship game, lost to the Rams, who lost to the Steelers in the Super Bowl. So it's been 40 years probably. So it doesn't happen very often. But when it does happen, it's a big deal.
But consideration. To be honest, like it starts and ends with the first 2 points: depth and experience.
But I will say, with Carolina, you got to take into effect what was going on behind the scenes last year too. And think of the roster; they were still fairly competitive in the majority of the games they played, even with the dysfunction going on the sidelines. Now you take that dysfunction out and give them a clean slate to just go play football, like we said at the very beginning of this episode, where they can just play fast. It's still a lot. But they're pros. We're paying them. They're supposed to be able to handle it. You know what I mean? Like, this is their job.
2 new guards. You have a center that hasn't played center every week in the NFL before, even though we think it's going to go well. But again, it's an unknown. It goes into that unknown bucket. We don't know about Bryce Young. We don't know if Deontay Johnson is going to break through and be a number 1 receiver again. He hasn't been that in 3 years.
We need to see it. That's one of those things.
Does Adam Thielen take a step back? Is Xavier Lee get a dude right out of the gate? Like, does Chuba take a hold of that running back? There's so many questions. You don't look at this roster. This is what I'm saying. There's so many questions. When you look at Atlanta's roster, Tampa Bay's roster, New Orleans' roster, yes, there's holes on their side too. But you look at certain spots, you go, they've got that figured out. They've got this figured out. There's not many of those figured out areas on Carolina's roster compared to the other 3.
Yeah, that's true. But more so than last year. Whereas last year we had question marks all over the place. I do think they took steps like a wide receiver and offensive line and running back where we're not questioning those positions as much as we would have at this point.
I know I'm sounding extremely harsh on them, but it's
you are.
It's a steady progress. Like, year 1's not about winning the division. I mean, in that locker room and in that building,
every year is hold on. Every year it's all.
I was about to say, you're going to probably catch it.
In the building, it's about that. But if we're talking from our vantage point, this is setting the foundation. This is just getting the culture right and being competitive. Next year, you take that step to compete the division. Year 3, it's about making a run and making some noise in the playoffs. It doesn't just happen like this.
No, it doesn't. Takes time.
So are we saying Carolina or no?
Do it.
I'm saying Carolina. Y'all can argue with your mom.
For the sake of our fan base, because y'all need something to hold on to. Like, we haven't had anything good to hold on to for 6 years. This is the 5th year of me hosting the show. I've yet to have a winning record, damn it, with the Panthers. I want it this year. I'm wishing it to existence. Like, make this happen.
I'll put my prediction in for 25. Carolina.
25 next year.
I like that.
Now, okay, so because we got to get out of here. Rank these teams in terms of, because there's got to be some wild cards too. We still got to pick 3 wild cards from AFC and NFC. He picked AFC Chiefs, Texans, Ravens, and then all 3 of us picked 3 different people in the East. Let's for the sake of this exercise, let's just say the Jets.
Yes.
Let's just say the Jets, because then Miami. I would say Miami's gonna be a wild card, and honestly, I would think the Bills would probably be the other one too. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Needs one more. There's 7. Yeah, need one more.
Someone out of the AFC North.
The Baltimore.
Yeah,
Ravens.
that makes sense. So either Cincy, Pittsburgh, or Cleveland.
Cincy.
I don't know.
Oh, you got Cincy over who?
Cleveland or Pittsburgh.
Oh,
For the final wild card
Cincy.
spot.
Yeah, I'll go Cincy.
All right, we trust Joe Burrow. So, and I'm assuming that Chiefs are the one.
Yep.
We're just giving. I mean, why are we playing this season? Like, why are we going to do this? If
We're playing this game because Are you not entertained?
It's let's see. Chiefs 1. I'd say Baltimore would be the 2 seed. Well, you know what? Actually, I would say maybe Houston would be the 2 seed. And give Baltimore the 3. And then whoever comes out of AFC East would be the 4. Yeah, that looks right. And then
in the end, it really doesn't matter the seeding because Kansas City's going to run and
pretty much. I was realizing as I was writing this down, I was like, does this even matter? The Chiefs proved with home, away.
They're going to be hitting that Chris Brown.
Snow, Taylor Swift, no Taylor Swift. Yeah, just Chiefs. I think we're penciling the Chiefs into the Super Bowl.
Yep.
Damn.
That's a first. We didn't really do the AFC brackets. Like, just push the Chiefs all the way to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
NFC. Who's the 1 seed? You got 49ers, Philly, Detroit, and Carolina.
I got Detroit.
Actually, yeah.
I was kind of leaning that way too. Oh, wait. Let me do the wild cards. So NFC is not as deep as the AFC because we left some teams out in the AFC that could get in. Like, I mean, we didn't talk about Jacksonville making the playoffs. We didn't talk about
Jacksonville. Oh,
you know what I mean? Like Indy.
Yeah.
I might be wrong about Anthony Richardson. They could get in. Cleveland. Like
I think Jaguars have a better chance of getting in
than Cincy because that was our last wild card in the AFC.
I think it could come down to Cincy and the Jaguars, in my opinion.
Yeah,
because I mean, Jaguars are close. We just don't really know why they haven't really. Trevor Lawrence.
They made the playoffs last year, didn't they?
Yeah, but they was trash, and I don't know how else to say it. They weren't really good. They in the playoffs they just kind of wet the bed, baby.
Oh my god!
Wear a diaper.
Let's see. So Detroit, I think we all think Detroit's going to have that year this year. They're going to be the 1. I kind of want to lean towards the 49ers being the 2.
Yeah.
Because as much as we said we thought Philly's going to win the East, they're still in the NFC East. Like they still got to deal with the Cowboys. The Commanders going to be better. I don't know what the Giants are doing exactly, but they might be better than last. I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. Daniel Jones does not strike fear in the hearts of any defense. If anything, they're licking their chops when they see him coming at this point. So Daniel Jones might not be the starting quarterback for the New York Football Giants for much longer. Whoever wins the NFC South, I assume, is the 4 seed. I just assume that that's what they're going to be. And then we didn't pick wild cards in the NFC. Can the South get 2 teams in the playoffs?
No, God, no. No, God, no.
Where's it coming from? The West?
East. So here we got Detroit.
I think the Cowboys are going to make the playoffs.
Green Bay.
Oh, Green Bay. Philly.
Dallas.
Niners.
Green Bay's going to make the playoffs.
Dallas.
I'm right. Green Bay. Yeah, and I think Dallas. One more spot. Because right now you got 49ers, Philly, Detroit, Panthers.
Either the Panthers.
Green Bay, Dallas. Well, we're saying Tampa. Panthers are already in as a division winner.
So the Panthers. Or whoever y'all think. Tampa Bay, right? Y'all Tampa Bay.
I don't think we're going to get 2 out of the South.
It's probably because this hat messing y'all up. Y'all think of this Tampa Bay colors.
I don't, because whoever wins the South again, I think it's a race to 9 wins. So I don't think whoever's second in the South is getting in as a wild card at 8 and 9 or whatever. So
LA.
The Rams. We haven't talked about Seattle at all.
Yeah,
I'd take LA over Seattle.
Yeah, I think without Pete, man, it's a different ball game over there. They gotta change the whole culture over there.
And it's crazy that there's too many teams in the AFC for us to pick, and we can't find enough teams in the NFC, even including the Panthers, to get to a 7-team field to field playoffs. Who are we forgetting? I feel like there's a team we're forgetting that we should be talking about more, and we're not. Is it the Vikings or the Bears? Could the Bears sneak in as a wild card?
No. Not happening.
Maybe they only filled 6 for the NFC. They're just like, we're just going to let whoever finishes first have a bye because we don't want to put in a team under 500, and because that's what it feels like it's going to end up being, right? Green Bay, Dallas, and just draw a name. Just draw a name.
LA.
I'm far from the Rams. So you got Detroit, 49ers, Philly, Carolina, Green Bay, Dallas, Rams. Pick your AFC championship and your NFC championship. So AFC.
I don't know who will get there because I don't know the matchups, but my Super Bowl, like I'll just go and put the Super Bowl because it's hard to predict the matchups.
Yeah, that's true with the way the season is and everything.
I'll just say it's going to be Chiefs Lions.
Chiefs Lions. Okay, so that's Schuyler.
Basically chalk.
Yeah, they're both for the ones. Stu, who's your Super Bowl?
My Super Bowl?
Mm-hmm.
Chiefs Lions.
Damn.
I ain't doing it again, man. I ain't going against Patrick Mahomes again.
Yeah,
the Super Bowl winner this year is the Chiefs.
Yep.
They're going to three-peat. So they'll be the first team in NFL history to three-peat.
What I would want to happen, though, is for Detroit to win. I want Detroit to win, but if you had to tell me, like, hey, who's going to win, and you had a gun to my head, I'm going to say the Chiefs.
I'm going you know what? I'm not going to pick the Chiefs to get to the Super Bowl because I do Bleav in it being super hard to three-peat. And we're asking the Chiefs to do something no team has been able to figure out. Like, you know how many games they've played? Like, over the course of 5 years? Like, this is
What food do you hate? What food do you hate?
What food do I hate?
Yeah.
I love these references.
I can't stand chitlins. I can't stand chitlins.
Chitlins? You don't like chitlins?
Hell no, man. Do you?
Not with hot sauce?
No, God no. It's steak.
Lord, man,
house.
you? This is
Man, my dad will cook them things and they'll smell for days. Like, no.
All right, so have you ever eaten? So would you eat? So would you eat them if they were like, "Hey, this is all you had to eat"?
No, I don't think I would. I don't think I could.
All right,
I mean, I'd have to be like near
so
death.
when
no.
when the Chiefs win the Super Bowl,
nah, I see where this is going. Nah, no way. Because I would do it on air too. It'd be horrible. Like, y'all don't want to see that.
That's not so. You're not confident in your decision, then. That's what I'm really getting at.
I mean, I'm hearing the whole double bet against Pat Mahomes thing, but dang, man, this is 3 in a row. Like, this is a lot.
Life ain't fair. Life is not fair.
Because I was going to actually put Baltimore there. I feel like this could be the year that Lamar Jackson finally breaks through and wins that Super Bowl. Because if he wins the Super Bowl, he's already a 2-time MVP. Like, you got to put Lamar up there with one of the greats, like, of all time. Like, he's knocking on the door now. I'd rather see that story than see Pat Mahomes, who we've already kind of crowned, like, number 2 at this point, actually do the unthinkable and win 3 in a row. And then he's still got another $450-500 million deal coming up in like 2 years or whatever. Like, this ain't over. Like, this is going to go on for like another 8-9 years, if not longer. So I don't know. Let me pick my NFC. I don't know about Detroit like that either. I don't want to pick the same thing. I don't want 49ers Chiefs again. I'm gonna just for fun, I'm gonna pick Chiefs versus Cowboys.
We can go and rip that one up.
Yeah, just for fun. Just think of the narratives coming
Desmond
out of the NFL.
from left field.
You're gonna make it from the wild card.
That boy,
man.
you know what we're witnessing right now, ladies and gentlemen.
A man that has had no sleep.
Desmond is he's a diehard Cowboys fan.
Nah, he
used to be a Cowboys fan, so it's just embedded in his heart.
They're knocking on the door.
You got a Cowboy star tattoo?
No, no tattoos. No tattoos. They've been knocking on the door. They've been 12-5 2 years in a row.
They've been knocking on the door since 1995.
It has been really like 30 years, but they've been.
It doesn't matter what door you knocking on. It doesn't matter if it's the wrong door. They've been rocking on the wrong house for too long. They over here knocking on this, glitz and glamour house.
I kind of want to pick Baltimore instead of the Chiefs. Baltimore Cowboys. I'm just saying. Like, expect the unexpected. That's what I'm saying. Like,
I like that. Expect the unexpected. But listen, After what we experienced last year, the Kansas City Chiefs, we were like, oh man, they got a good defense. Our defense is playing really good, but I don't really know if they have too much in the tank on offense. And then guess what?
They ended up
Patrick Mahomes started running the ball, started scrambling, and he was like, look, I'm gonna make this happen. I don't care what y'all say. I don't care what nobody say. I don't care about Lamar Jackson. I don't care about the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens eating stuff off eating scraps off the pavement. Like, I don't care about none of that.
Mark Burke says, I didn't think cannabis was legal down there, but with takes like that, you got to pee in a cup. Robson,
yeah, you got
that man. I'm just saying, look, wouldn't it be just like the NFL where the one team that everyone is piled up on the whole offseason about doing nothing actually makes it all the way to the Super Bowl in Dak's contract year?
When was the last time that happened? When was the last time that happened?
Maybe like the Ravens, like when the Ravens won when Joe Flacco was up for his contract or whatever, 2012, I think it was. I think they beat the 49ers. The same kind of logic I'm thinking, where you didn't think going into it the Ravens were going to win the Super Bowl. They get all the way there. Flacco leads them to a ring. Flacco gets his money. Like, isn't that the same narrative? This would happen with the Dallas Cowboys, the biggest brand in all of sports or whatever. The quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys leads them to a Super Bowl. They've had a drought for 30 years. He forces Jerry Jones to give him $500 million, and then they're in purgatory for the next 10 years after that. That's the Dallas Cowboys story. I could see it. I could see Carolina hosting Dallas in a divisional playoff game. Y'all don't seem impressed. Y'all don't seem impressed at all. We're going to end it right there. It's their year. It's their year. That's what Mark's is saying. It's their year again. So I'm with you, Cowboy fans. I'm not a Cowboy fan. You can take that back, Jonathan Stewart. I'm not a Cowboy fan. I'm a diehard Carolina Panther. I even picked the Panthers with you. I'm not a Cowboy fan.
Yeah, Desmond sleep with a Cowboy pillow and a Panther pillow.
One of those actual full body
when the Panthers are winning, he's sleeping on the Panthers pillow. When they losing, he gives it to his kids.
So we're gonna stop it right there. Chiefs Lions for Schuyler, Chiefs Lions for Stu, Chiefs Cowboys for me.
We tried to warn him, Stu. We tried to warn him.
I don't feel good about any of them.
This is the first time we've gone this early, and clearly it's having an impact on Desmond Johnson.
I gotta switch to coffee or something like that. I hate hot drinks, so I've been sitting there drinking a Coke for the past
that's the problem. Them chemicals getting your brain
sugared up, man. I'm all sugared up on Coca-Cola. Let's go ahead and just end it right here. It's the Bleav in Panthers pod. We'll be back next week, and we'll actually get a chance to start previewing the season. We're still 2 weeks away from actual live bullets going on in a game that actually matters. So
no spiked coffees next week.
No spiked coffees next week. We will get we'll figure out what we're doing. We'll have a better sense of what the roster is, because by the time we get to next week, we'll have had some cuts. And we'll see if they've fixed some of the stuff that Schuyler's worried about in terms of the secondary and everything else. I say Schuyler because I don't think me and Stu are worried. I think we're at that portion of the year where it's like
Super Bowl.
Let's just go ahead and play.
Yeah, Crown Royal. If you are listening to this podcast or anyone, please reach out to us. We would gladly have you on the show as a sponsor, so that way Desmond Johnson could tell the world what he's been sipping on, which is probably Crown
day. It's gonna be a long day already. I already know it's gonna be a long day. So we're gonna go ahead and get out of here. Make sure you follow us on all of our podcast platforms. Follow the Bleav Podcast Network there for our audio. That'll be up a little bit later on. The video is always available at the Tobacco Road Sports Radio YouTube channel, youtube.com/@Tobacco Road Sports Radio. For Schuyler Callihan and Jonathan Stewart, this is Desmond Johnson. You've been watching and listening to the Bleav in Panthers podcast here on Bleav Podcast Networks, brought to you by Bet Online. Keep at it.